All right, welcome back to the channel. It's been about 6 years since I've posted anything at all. I posted a video called How to Route Get Good Drums in Reaper or something to that effect. And I recently went back and checked that video and it's at about 14,000 views. It's got a few comments. It had more feedback than I was expecting at the time. I never got around to posting a follow-up, so I'm sorry about that. If you get notified for this and I never gave you that follow-up, that is my bad. A lot has changed in my life, including the use of Get Good Drums. I no longer use Get Good Drums for any of my production stuff. I use Superior Drummer now, Superior Drummer 3 specifically. I know that Get Good Drums has definitely gone through a lot of changes over the past few years, a lot of bug fixes, updates, that sort of thing. So I'm sure it's gotten much better. If you haven't watched that video, definitely go back and give it a look if you're a Get Good Drums user and you've ever had problems with multi-channel routing, in Reaper specifically. So anything I do is going to be applicable for Reaper. I don't really deal with anything else. Today, I want to make a similar video, but this time we're going to be multi-channel output routing for Superior Drummer. I'm going to pull that up right now. You can see I have it already done here. I'm going to move this out of the way a little bit. Right? So we're going to get a fresh start. So I'm going to delete all of this. And we're going to delete that. And we're just going to start from scratch. So first of all, we're going to pull up Superior Drummer on our track here, 32 out. Get her loaded up. And it loads a basic kit with no effects processing or anything like that on it. All right, so that's the basic kit it loads up with. We can, we could open up a different kit if we wanted to, if you do have different expansions. So you want to pick that first before you go doing all your routing. But for the sake of this tutorial, we're going to stick with this basic kit. And we're also going to add some more toms in here. That way we get the full sort of routing experience. All right, so now let's name this Sup Drummer. Okay, first thing we're going to do is right here, we're going to highlight the name of the plugin, right-click it, scroll down, and build multi-channel routing for outputs of selected effects. Click that, click yes. All right, so now we've got 32 channels of stereo audio all ready to be routed. Excuse me. So we're going to pop over to the mixer tab here. And as you can see, all of the instruments, the kicks, snares, everything is currently all routed to outputs 1 and 2. And you can see that in action here. They're all still on the same track. We do not want that. So you're going to go to the mixer tab and top left, follow my mouse, click mixer, scroll down till you get to apply multi-channel outputs. Click that. And it's going to auto-assign all these instruments to their own outputs. Now, as you can see, kick in and out are automatically sent to the same output, 1 and 2. So in this instance, what you would want to do is simply blend the kick in and out in the box as you wish, and then do all of your processing and mixing and effects in Reaper. You could assign these to be on their own separate channels, but since you're just doing mic blending, it's easier to just leave it as is. So we're going to start by labeling. This is the tedious part, but it's very helpful. That's kick. So 1 and 2. Actually, there's 3. There's the kick sub. So all 3 of these are blended and they're being sent to one track here. All right, let's move on to snare. There's 2 snare channels. You got snare top and snare bottom. Snare top is on 3 and 4. So we're going to go snare top, and then here snare bottom is 5 and 6, and you can see it correlates. This is 5 and 6 here, and we're going to rename it to snare bottom, as so. Moving on, hi-hat. is 7 and 8. So we're going to call this hats. Now, this is where we run into our first problem. And this is something that just happens pretty often. I think some kits don't do it, but most of the kits that I've used do this. They put all of the toms, including racks and toms, on one channel. You don't want that. We're not blending different mic positions on one instrument here. We want all of these on their own track. So we're going to leave rack tom 1 as it is. It's on 9 and 10. So right here's 9 and 10. One thing I like to do in Reaper, let's add a track right above it. And we're going to address that later. Okay, we're just going to call this toms. Eventually that's going to be a folder. So, all right, so 9 and 10, rack tom 1. So let's go ahead and name that rack 1. Now, we want rack tom 2 to be on its own channel, which is the next one is 11 and 12. So in the box, on rack tom 2, we're going to change this output to 11 and 12. And go ahead and say rack 2. And so on. We're going to move rack tom 3 to 13, 14. Rack 3. Now we're going to go to floor toms. We want these on 15 and 16. That's the next one. So we'll go 15, 16. Floor 1. And 17, 18. It's going to be floor 2. Floor 2. I prefer labeling these as I go. It keeps things from getting a little bit messy and confusing. So we've got two overhead mics here. We've got the dynamic and the condenser. Once again, we're going to do a blend. So we're going to put these on the same channel just to save channel space. And our last channel was 17, 18. So overhead's going to start at 19 and 20. And we'll put both these on 19 and 20 right here. And we'll call it overhead blend. Now, from here on, we're dealing with room mics, okay? So we have to continue this pattern of moving everything up. And so we were last on 1920, so now the first room mic is ambient ribbon, and it's going to go on 21 and 22. We'll call this ribbon. And then the near is going to be on 23 and 24. Near. And 25 and 26 is going to be mid. Now we got a front, left, and right. Those will be on 27 and 28. Front, L/R. And the center is going to be on 29 and 30. Center. And the surround will be on 31 and 32. Surround. All right, so now you can see there's three more mics here that we ran out of channels for. We could blend those if we wanted to put them all on, say the surround channel. In fact, we'll just go ahead and do that. So we'll put them all on 31 and 32. And we'll just make this one big blend channel. Blend. All right, so my experience is that you don't need more than, say, 2 to 4 different room mics blended together to get a good sound. Sometimes you don't need more than 1 or 2, really. It just depends on your mix. So having to blend a few of these is really not a big deal. It's a little overkill on the amount of room mics in this particular kit. All right, so now we can see here. There's our snare top and bottom. Here's our kick right there. Now, the reason you're seeing the kick trigger in the snare bottom mic is because of bleed. And that is something we can go over. If you're wanting to mix really isolated, it's really easy to do that. And here's your toms. So before we move on, let's address this track I made here. We're going to turn this into a folder because we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 toms. So we're going to hit the plus sign and turn toms into a folder. and go down to the last track that we want to be in that folder and hit the plus sign twice. So now what this has done is it's created basically a parent track to all the tom tracks. That way, if you need to solo or mute all your toms and kind of listen to them and just together and see how they're balanced, you can do that, or you can adjust the volume of all of them at the same time. And I recommend working with folders in Reaper. It makes things a lot easier. And we're actually going to do the same thing here for all of the room mics. So we'll create a new track right above all the rooms, and we'll call this room mics. And then boom, turn that into a folder. So there are your room mics. And this way as well, you can solo all your room mics at once and listen to them as a blended group and see how your balance is coming along on your room mics. And in Superior Drummer, your bleed level's all right here. So if you want your kick, your snares, and let's see, we'll leave the toms because you want to get some of that tom bleed into the overheads to sound natural. So there's your snare. There's your toms. And you can see them bleeding into the overheads there. Definitely want that. Snares in the overheads. But turning off that bleed just keeps, like, you know, the bottom mic on the snare drum. It keeps it off whenever you hit the kick. And you can adjust however you want for mixing. So that is how you route Superior Drummer 3 within Reaper. And I do suggest, once you get all this done, go up to File, go down to Project Templates, save project as template, name it whatever you want. In this case, it's Superior Drum Outs for me, and save. We'll overwrite that. So that is that. Thanks for watching. I hope it was helpful. Please, if you have any questions or if there's anything specifically you want me to address, post it down in the comments, and I will do my best to get to it. Take care.